Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Footy Show for another week. Great to be joining you once again here on the MCDFNL website, bringing you all of the MCDFNL's football and netball action after round 3 and looking into round 4 this week. Sean Kelly's my name. Joining me as always, my co-host Sam Gower. Sam, welcome, mate.
Always a pleasure, Sean.
How are you finding the Saturdays without playing footy these days now, mate? Just given up the boot. You've hung up the boots. You've given it all up. You've seen Natty win by some outrageous margins in the twos this year and thought, they don't really need me, or you thought, oh, I should be out there dominating?
Well, actually, Natty knocked off Navarre in the twos on the weekend, and the ankle actually felt a bit better looking at the scoreboard.
Did it?
Yeah, but no, I'll stay retired. Much better spectator than I am footballer.
That's probably true, and in fact, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Let's have a look at the results from this week's games before we launch into our talking points, mate. Round 3 on the weekend. I'll start it off for you and have a look at our first 4 games of the week, and it was Harcourt. Huge win up against Avoca on the weekend. Harcourt 24-22, 166, defeating Avoca 9-5-59. Avoca's second loss for the year. They are 1-2. I got ripped because I said they were zip 2 last week when they were actually 1-1. There was some hate mail came in my direction after that, so I apologise to the Avoca faithful. 1-2 they are sitting on now. Of course, that win over Denali in round 1. Carisbrook 19-8, 122, defeating Newstead 6-8-44. Good win by the Brookers last weekend. Malden 18-10, 118. Back on the winners list against Denali 6-8-44. And Lexton 19-7, 121. In control most of the day against Hull, but 10-9-69.
And the other games for the round, Navarre 8-10, 58, defeating an inaccurate Natty 4-15, 39. Trentham knocking off Campbell's Creek 10-6, 66 to 7-13, 55. And Sunday's Maryborough Derby, Royal Park getting over the line 13-17, 95 to Maryborough Rovers 10-5, 65.
Getting over the line in the last quarter, I believe it was 8-1 or something in the last quarter. Rovers ahead at three-quarter time.
They certainly were, but Bushy just snuck over the line with a big last effort.
They did indeed. Talking points for this week. Talking point number 1 is goals. Pure and simple. We have seen the rebirth of the full forward, we believe, in the MCDFNL this year. Matthew Brown's up and about kicking goals. He kicked 8 on the weekend for Lexton. Chris Stone's kicking goals. He got 6 on the weekend for Harcourt. Our man's back up and about. Great to have him back, Big Nathan. Another 5 on the weekend and just really taking the P155 from what I hear as well. And even the little blokes. Jeff McMurtry, 8 goals on the weekend. Paul Chaplin kicking goals for Harcourt as well. Mark Ashmore's been great for Campbell's Creek all year. Really good year for goal kickers so far.
Certainly is reigning goals in the MCDFNL so far. Matthew Brown, of course, missed round 1 as well, so that's 13 goals so far for him.
And it's interesting because as you look at the top 10 goal kickers, Matthew Brown 13 goals in 2 games. Nathan Wright's only played 2 games. Lockie Murray from Lexton's kicked 5 and 4 in his 2 games as well. So really good year for goal kicking, I feel, this year, and we're going to see some big bags. And interestingly enough, Ash Driscoll, who won the goal kicking last year, in the top 10 without setting the world on fire, but you just feel that he's going to have one of those days where he tears it apart pretty shortly.
Yeah, certainly given the delivery that he's got at his disposal, we should see him rise up the ladder a bit, I think.
Could be this weekend as we have a look at the games very shortly. Talking point number 2 this week is the Trentham Football Netball Club, absolutely flying at the moment, and all of a sudden they found themselves as the kings of night football, winning their 2nd game in a row under lights.
Yeah, doing their best work in the dark, the Saints. They've got another one coming up shortly too this round, I think.
Next round?
Next round. Yep. So yeah, we could see another nighttime win for the Saints. Yeah,
going very nicely. Ross Maloney doing some really good stuff in his first year at Trentham as well, picked in the Interleague squad and just really going along nicely. And great to see Dan Lendrick kicking a couple of goals as well. Like, it's doing a bit of work with us here at AFL Goldfields, so great to see him up and about. But Trentham getting these wins on the board early really sets them up, because you've got a feeling that 6th, 7th and 8th spot are going to be up for grabs this year, and these early wins really could set Trentham up.
Certainly could. Being so far away from the other clubs, we know Trentham's probably a little bit exempt from the off-season gossip that everyone else cops. And yeah, the Saints could be on the rise this year. They
could be indeed. Great to see them up and about. And of course, there is another night game at Trentham on Wednesday, the 13th of May. Our junior interleague sides taking on the Riddle District Football Netball League in under 14 and under 16 action as well. So if you're doing nothing that night, maybe you could head out to Trentham for a nice warm night out at Trentham watching junior footy.
Yeah, just make sure you rug up on the way down.
Do that indeed. Talking point number 3 this week is netball. We've been lambasted in the last couple of weeks because we don't talk netball. We don't really know enough about netball, do we? You're rubbish when it comes to netball. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. So we thought that we'd change that this week, and we mentioned last week, we kind of threw her under the bus a little bit because we mentioned it without her notice that we'd bring Rachel Phelan onto the show. She watched the footy show last week. She actually watched it twice because she didn't pick it up the first time, but the second watch around, she's like, oh, hang on, I'm supposed to be on this week. So she came in, she brought a stack of notes as well, absolutely prepared. So talking point number 3 is netball, and to help us talk netball this week, we've brought in the MCDFNL Interleague and the Lexton A-grade coach, Rachel Phelan. Welcome back to the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Footy Show, or as it is in this segment, the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Netball Show. Joining me from the Lexton Football Netball Club and also one of our 2015 Interleague coaches, Rachel Phelan. As promised last week, Rachel's here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Kind of a bit of a surprise last week when you watched the show and then all of a sudden you were coming on next week.
Yes, it was a nice surprise.
Good to see the consultation process as well and truly in place this year. Firstly, how are you? We know not playing this year with the pregnancy. How's it all coming along?
Yes, very good. Can't complain, no sickness or anything like that.
Yep.
So the hardest thing is not being out on the court.
Touch wood, no sickness and anything anyway. Still
That's
a little bit of time to go, so best of luck with it all anyway. Let's have a look at round 3 in the A-grade netball competition in the MCDFNL. And big result first up, Trentham taking on Campbell's Creek. Trentham 64 defeating Campbell's Creek 14. Been a while since we've seen some results like that coming from Trentham. Well done to them. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. Harcourt and Avoca, the first draw for the year, 35 each. Carisbrook 37 defeating Newstead 19, Maldon 52 defeating Denali 15, Lexton 57 up against Talbot 11, still doing the job well, the girls, Rach, without you there.
Yes.
Navarre 31 defeating Natty Bialaba 21, a replay of last year's preliminary final and another very interesting matchup. And then on Sunday, the close game and probably one of the games of the round, Royal Park 41 defeating Maryborough Rovers 37 for Bushy's first win of the season in, I suppose, a little bit of an upset.
Yeah, yes. I thought Rovers definitely would have got over Royal Park in that one.
Let's have a look at some of the results from the season. We'll have a look at the ladder after 3 rounds because it's really interesting to have a look at this. And I know you've done a fair bit of work preparing, I suppose, looking at the ladder now and how it was 12 months ago. So as we look at it, Lexton and Navarre sit on top of the ladder undefeated. No real surprises there. They've been the 2 standout teams for the last really 24 months in the netball competition. 3rd and 4th, Harcourt and Avoca, also undefeated with just that draw next to their name, of course. And then Maldon, Trentham and Carisbrook, all with 2 wins and 1 loss. Great to see Trentham up there as well. They've been down for so long and they are absolutely flying on the netball court at the moment. So great to see them up and about. 8th place Newstead with just 1 win. 9th place and outside of the top 8, and geez, it's been a long time since we've said this, Natty Bialaba sitting outside the top 8 with the 1 win for the season. We'll touch on them very shortly as well. Maryborough Rovers in 10th and Royal Park in 11th, both with the 1 win each, and then the winless teams so far, Talbot, Denali, another one very surprising down there, and then Campbell's Creek. Great to see Creek up and about in the A-grade competition again this year as well. But let's just touch on a few of the fortunes of these teams. Trentham we'll start with because they're the good news story of the league so far. Yes, they've played Talbot and Campbell's Creek in the last 2 weeks that they've got their wins against, but you'd still 64-14 wins don't come from luck, they come from hard work.
That's right, they've obviously worked really hard to get their A-grade side where they are, and it's great to see them up there, finishing 13th last year and they're sitting in 6th.
A couple of handy players coming over. Taylor Drevensek, that played a lot of A-grade netball in the BFL last year, at Bacchus Marsh, coming over and really helping them out as well. What are some of the other surprises that you've seen so far over the 3 rounds of the season, Rach?
I would say the Harcourt Avoca draw. That was a shock to me. I thought Avoca would win that one. Not easy, but would win that one just because they've been so strong and they haven't really lost.
You're still
anyone.
dirty that you lost them in the preliminary final last year, aren't you?
Oh, look, it was a bit hard, but
yeah,
you know,
you are.
It's another season. Start again. But no, I think they're probably ones to look out for this season as well.
Yep. And looking at the other end of the ladder, as we just said, a couple of teams that are not familiar down the bottom end. Firstly, Denali, who are winless and have copped a few pastings on the way through as well. Without Ash Lyric there this year over in Western Australia, they look like a different side.
Yeah, I think they must be really struggling without Ash. And having a look, looks like their 2 goalies have also left them. So they've got 2 new goalies. So they're obviously going to be in the rebuilding stage. So hopefully they can get some wins on the board before the end of the season. And
the other one that we spoke about, Natty Bialaba, have not seen them. I don't think, in my 2.5 years now with the league, I don't think I've seen them outside the top 8 at this stage. What's happened there?
I think maybe the loss of Ingrid That's
Definitely doesn't help.
Doesn't help, and also Jasmine and Tony. I
Yep.
haven't seen them on the play sheet at least this season. So hopefully they can rebuild their goal end and get some more wins on the board.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens going forward. But before we look at round 4, Rach, what have you been doing with yourself this year? Obviously, we know that you did the Regional State League, and the girls were fantastic throughout the Regional State League tournament. We'll touch more on that shortly. Have you got any off-court roles at Lexton this year, or is it just too damn hard watching?
No, I'm still the sponsorship manager there.
Yep.
So that kept me busy on the off season and just slowly chasing them up now.
Yep.
But otherwise,
I know how you feel.
So it's just coaching the A grade
Yep.
and running training. So
it's you and Kimber coaching A grade at Lexton, or
no, just myself.
just yourself? Give Kimber the flick.
Yes.
Probably a good result.
Yeah.
Let's be
Well,
honest.
I miss her, but she's due to have her baby next week.
I was going to say, she's not far away, is she?
She's very busy at the moment.
She is indeed, but she is named, of course, as one of the co-coaches for the Interleague side after the Regional State League tournament that you went through this year, and the Interleague side that will play in 3 weeks' time up against the Ballarat Football Netball League at Princess Park borrows very heavily from that Regional State League side, with 7 of the 8 girls that you're playing next week involved in the RSL tournament.
Yeah, so we thought that we'd keep the same side. They started to really work well together, so I contacted all of them, and pretty much all of them, but 2 were keen to play.
Yep.
So that was our side, and we just needed another goalie, so Jess Parry got the phone call.
Who, of course, has been playing some pretty good netball at VNL level for the ACU Sovereigns over the summer as well. So she's very much, and it's not like she's a new person into the squad. She's played representative netball for the MCDFNL since Navarre came into the league. So she knows all of the girls and she knows the plays that you run. So it's not going to be like you're bringing in a stranger.
That's right, and the fact that Taylor and Jess are both part of the side, she plays with them every week, so they should work well together.
So let's just have a look at the side. It's up on the screen at the moment. Coached by yourself and Kimberly Roberts, of course, from Lexton. Jess Williamson, the captain this year.
Yes.
She was fantastic during the Regional State League tournament. Of course, the players player during the RSL tournament, and probably your standout player during that tournament.
Yeah, she absolutely blitzed it through the RSL. Captain for the Interleagues, the outside seemed appropriate.
Which is a great honour. Well done to you, Jess. A couple of girls from Lexton, Jules Coates and Sarah Fisher, that you're very, very familiar with.
Yes, yep, they're handy. Sarah can play pretty much anywhere in the mid-court, and Jules is mid-court and defence.
Yep. Navarre teammates for Jess, as we mentioned, Taylor Mason and Jess Parry. Taylor was also fantastic during the Regional State League tournament. I thought she was a real contender for the MVP award as well, but just didn't quite get there in the end, and we know how good those two are together. They've played in 2 premierships together over the last 2 years.
Yeah, Taylor in goals was just amazing. She would sink long bombs, I think, most of the time, and just her movement in there. And I've noticed that she is playing in the goal end for Navarre this season when she was in defence.
Yeah, interesting. Last weekend, I think she must have played in defence,
Yeah,
though, because as we look at last week's results, it was Ree Davis and Jess Parry that scored all the goals. So it's handy having that kind of versatility in your side, though. You've got someone like Taylor, who is very tall, that can shoot well, but can also hold her own defensively in case Ballarat come to you with some tall shooters.
Yeah, no, it's good having that option. So we've got a few options for goals, a few options for defence, and the mid-court. So we can change it to make it fit against the VFL side.
And our other players, of course, Alex Dempster from Maldon now, not Newstead this year, crossed over to Maldon, and a very strong shooter as well.
Yeah, just her height and just her ability to stand her own ground will be definitely good against the VFL defenders.
Have you taught her the Rachel Phelan leg kick yet when she's shooting?
No, not yet.
Maybe we need to get that back in because we missed that on the court this year. Amanda Parkinson from the Maryborough Rovers did a great job during the RSL as that really mobile goal attack as well.
Yeah, so she can play goals and she can also play a bit of mid-court, so a bit of versatility there with her.
And last but not least, of course, the Norda Tracy Trophy winner from 2014, Naomi Medlin from Natty Bialaba, who, of course, one of the premier defenders in the league.
Yes, it's great to have her on our side in defence, so hopefully she can slow down those BFL goalies.
Yeah, the BFL haven't quite, as of at the time of filming, released their squad to take on the MCDFL, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. I've heard a few rumours about the configuration of the squad, so it could be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing who we're playing against.
Let's have a look at this week's games in the A-grade netball competition. We've got an expert in, so we can do it justice this week. It's not just Sam Gowers pretending that he knows what he's talking about when we talk netball. We've got the best in the business in here, Rachel Phelan, to take us through the game, starting with the game between Avoca and Newstead up at Avoca. Last year, and in previous years, we would have said this would have been one of the matches of the round, but Newstead probably slipped a little bit this year. Avoca still at that same level as last year, and even this year, it's still the same. We haven't really looked at Avoca too much as a threat, and we didn't last year until the end of the season, when all of a sudden we've realised, hang on, they've won like 12 games in a row, and they've just gone bang, 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 and knocked off all these top teams and made a grand final.
Yeah, well, I find that whenever Lexton play Avoca, no matter where we are on the ladder, it's always a tough match, and we've always had close matches with them.
So which way are you going with this one, Avoca taking on Newstead?
I'm going to say Avoca by 18 goals.
Interesting. Yeah, I reckon Avoca should win this one as well. Obviously, we'll go in as favourites. Campbell's Creek taking on Royal Park at Campbell's Creek. And here's a chance. Royal Park obviously getting their first win last year with a reasonably young squad this year. Girls like Ellie Short, who of course was under 17 best and fairest not all that long ago, and Ellie Godson coming up from Ballarat as well, giving them a bit of steel. Campbell's Creek still a very young side, getting back up into A grade this year. This will be a good game for them because it's a team that's in a reasonably similar kind of vein, and they a good chance to measure themselves to see where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see Campbell's Creek with an A-grade side this season. We obviously played them round one, and I mean, the score didn't reflect the performance that they put up to us, but they've got a lot of developing to do, and I can see that they might get a win by the end of the round, by the season, sorry. But I pick Royal Park by 21 for this one.
Yeah, Bushy for mine here as well. Just feel that win last week gave them that extra bit of confidence. If they had a loss to the Rovers last week, it might have been a different story, but getting that first win on the board, as you know, can give you so much confidence going forward. So Bushy in this one. Next game, night game this week, the one that your team's involved in as well. This will be a beauty. Carisbrook taking on Lexton. Always is, no matter where these two teams are on the ladder. And Carisbrook have been a little bit up and down this year, but they've shown that when they're on, they're on.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a tough match, but being Lexton, I'm going to pick Lexton by 9.
A couple of changes in your squad this year, obviously with yourself and Kimber not on the court. Who's the new girls in? And tell us a little bit about how Lexton's kind of restructured this year without you and Kimber in particular there.
Okay, well, pretty much the two goalies, Lisa and I, are out.
Yep.
So we've
Lisa
got
Donhunt are there as well.
Yes, she's not
there we
travelling back. So we've got Tammy Brand, who had a season off.
Yep.
She's back. She's a veteran of the game, so her knowledge of the game is really good for the girls on the court. Heather Tweddle, she was in the mid-court last year. She's now stepped into the goals.
Yep.
So those two paired together have been working really well. Obviously, you know Kimber. So we've got a new recruit that come with one of our boys, Sarah Molseed.
Yep.
She's nearly like a Jess Williamson with her drives. So
it's a big call.
Yes. No, very impressed with her. So the two Sarahs in the mid-court have been working really well. So that sort of fixes up our attack end from Kimber, Lisa and I not being there.
Yep.
And Krista Shaw is no longer playing with us. She's playing, I think, in BFL, possibly for Sebas.
Okay.
So our defence is really the same with Jules
Crystal
and Julie Anderson has stepped up from B grade.
Oh, that's good, because as a youngster, she was a girl that really showed a lot of promise, and geez, that makes you tall defensively then with Julie coming in, and obviously Jules and Crystal there as well.
Yes, I'm very happy with my defence combo. It's hopefully we'll be unstoppable.
So you got Jules playing wing D?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this week is going to be very interesting for the girls.
There you go, opposition coaches. If you can't beat Lexton now, we've just absolutely picked them apart. We know all their structures now, so if you can't beat them, don't blame us. Doing very nicely. Denali taking on Navarre this week at Deledio Reserve, and again, seasons past, we would have really promoted this game up, but just with Denali's form at the moment, this one could get ugly pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Navarre will win this quite easily.
You've put a number down there, and it's a big number. Tell us that number that you put for the margin.
I've put down 60.
Wow,
yes.
That is big. And I suppose it's unfortunate, but it shows us where Denali are at the moment against two-time premiers that haven't really lost anybody.
No, I think Navarre's going to be unstoppable this season.
Yeah, they're going very nicely at the moment, and that will continue this week. Malden taking on Harcourt. Interesting game, this one. Harcourt, of course, up and about at the moment. They're the sneaky improvers from the season so far, but Malden going pretty well as well, with Alex Dempster coming into the side this year, and a couple of girls back up and about as well.
Yeah, I think this one will be probably a lot closer than we expect. I've actually tipped Harcourt by 6.
Yeah, I'm going with Harcourt as well. Like, they haven't put a foot wrong so far this year, and you just feel that if they can keep going, it's going to go. But it's going to be a close game. You're right. Malden definitely, and always have been, a team that you can't discount.
That's right. Yeah.
So very interested to see how that one turns out. Maryborough Rovers taking on Trentham at Jubilee Oval this week, and here's another chance for Trentham to keep going. And obviously the Rovers have been competitive and always are competitive, but Trentham's confidence at the moment, they'll go into this one thinking that they're favourites.
Yeah, well, I've actually tipped Rovers. I did and ah about this one because I think it could go either way. But yeah, I'm going to go Rovers.
Any reason behind that? Just obviously we know how steady Rovers are, and they're consistently up there with the best teams. They don't always win, and we've seen that over the last couple of weeks. They've had some close results and haven't got over the line, but we know how consistent they are, whereas Trentham, a couple of games against the lower teams, will be interesting to see how they go in this one against a team that's realistically probably more at their level.
Yeah, I think just Trentham's had a few easier games than Rovers, so I think Rovers might go in with a bit more oomph to get over the line over Trentham.
And the last game for the round, Natty Bialaba taking on Talbot. Very interesting game, this one as well. We know that Natty has slipped a bit, but surely they go in as favourites in this one.
Yeah, no, I definitely think Natty will win this one quite comfortably over Talbot. I've written down 35 as a margin.
Still some strength there. Still Ash McClellan through the mid-court, obviously, who is a super player. Ebony Knights are still in the Natty side as well, so definitely still the nucleus of a good side there. It seems like they just need a bit of time to click, and no shame in losing to Navarre by 10 last week. A lot will this year, so there's probably not too much going wrong there, but yeah, I don't think Natty are too far away.
No, they'll pick themselves up, I'd say.
Well, Rach, thanks for joining us this week. We've finally got some sort of semblance of knowledge into the netball segment of the Footy Show, so great to have you on board. I'd say come back more often, but it just depends on, of course, what's happening with the little one down there. We don't want to burden you when you're getting close to having the baby, so hopefully we can see you again very soon, and of course we'll be seeing you on Interleague weekend as well, and we very much look forward to that.
Yes, no, thanks for having me, and I'll try and pop back soon.
Very much looking forward to it. Rachel Phelan, the coach of the MCDFNL Interleague side, and of course the Lexton A-grade side, joining us this week. It's time to get back and have a look at this week's footy games in the MCDFNL, so we'll throw it back to the studio and we'll bring Sammy Gowers back in. Rachel Phelan, our MCDFNL Senior Interleague and the Lexton A-grade coach, and yeah, okay, she's done netball well. We get her in every couple of weeks now. I think we're back on track from a netball point of view now.
Certainly a big improvement on what I'd offer.
Very, very much so, and much better looking as well, let's be honest.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Let's have a look at round 4 in the MCDFNL's footy ranks now. Turn our attentions to the footy and look at what's going to be a pretty interesting game this week between Avoca and Newstead at the Avoca Public Park. Both teams probably haven't got off to the start of the season they would have preferred, and look, the Bulldogs probably going as favourites here.
Yeah, they certainly will, and probably deservedly so. Newstead, we know, have got a really, really young side, trying to get some games into their young players for a tilt in the next couple of years. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Bulldogs for this one.
Yeah, Bulldogs for me as well. As we mentioned, they've been competitive in the couple of games so far. Probably not on the weekend against Harcourt, where they got a nice little dust-up, but Newstead have been a fair way from the mark in all the games at the moment. And they'll probably see this as one where they'll give themselves a real shot here. Pat Cummins coming back into the side last week for Newstead will definitely help, and to get the game under his belt will be definitely an influence. But Avoca will always give you a contest, and I reckon they'll be able to get the job done this week.
Yeah, probably just the age and experience that they've got on their side against Newstead's young side, even though Pat Cummins does come back in. Yeah, I think that'll get Avoca over the line. Interesting game at Campbell's Creek this weekend. Campbell's Creek taking on Royal Park. We know Creek are a completely different side at home than what they are away. And Bushy got their first win on the board on the weekend. They played some really good footy, especially in that last quarter. It'll be a confidence booster for them. Three-quarter time, they're looking down the barrel of, hang on, if we don't win this, we're in serious trouble. Instead, they come with the mindset, yep, we've got that win on the board. We've played the footy that we know that we can play. Let's roll on. And they'll start favourites here, but it's not going to be easy. Yeah, probably the Bushy of old would have just chucked that one in. But I think they've got the confidence this year to go out and say, right, we know we can kick these goals and win this game. And I think they'll carry that confidence over and knock off the Creekers here, even though it's at the Creeker Dome.
Yeah, look, I'm tipping Royal Park here. I'm not talking with a lot of confidence because, as we said, we know Campbell's Creek are a completely different side at home, and they're another team that will give you an effort all the way. And look, they probably could have won this game the other night at Trentham. They had 13 scoring shots or something in the last quarter and only kicked 3 goals out of it. Probably should have won that game, but they didn't, and history will tell us that they didn't, and it will be a very tough task for them against Royal Park this week.
Certainly will be.
Moving along, the night game this week, Carisbrook taking on Lexton, match of the round by the length of the Flemington Straight, this one. Under the lights at Carisbrook, 7 p.m. start, we think. 7:30 at the time of writing. It hadn't been quite nutted out as yet, but it's on the screen at the moment, so you know when it's going to be. But a very interesting game coming up between two informed sides.
Absolute cracker, this one, and I'm not really sure which way to go. I think probably I'm going to go with Lexton, but that's just a punt because they're both really up and about, these two teams.
Yeah, they are indeed, and as we said, we talked goals before, and there's going to be some goal kickers in this game because obviously one end you've got Big Nath, at the other end you've got Big Matty Brown. Lockie Murray's kicking a lot of goals through the midfield. Matthew Bilton is starting to get scary good kicking goals through the midfield. Cole Roscola's kicking goals, and he's a pest at the best of times, and when he's kicking goals he just yaps off even more, so great to see Cole up and about with his confidence as well, and this could be a shootout, but look, I'm actually going against it. I'm tipping Carisbrook solely because the game's under lights. Lexton haven't had a lot of experience at night footy, whereas Carisbrook have. Just got a feeling that may hold Carisbrook in that little bit better stead going forward. But look, I'm quite easily going to be proven wrong here, and it would not surprise me if Lexton get up and win this game.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it should be an absolute gem of a game.
Do yourself a favour. It is, of course, the only night game this week. Every other game will be finished by the time this one starts. So head over to Carisbrook and Lexton and watch what's going to be an absolutely ripping game of footy. No one has to get up and play footy on Sunday this week, so there's really no excuses. So get along to this one because it should be an absolute beauty. Moving along this week, Denali taking on Navarre Deledio Reserve, and we talk about games that could potentially get ugly. This could be the one. Unfortunately, Denali not really flying along all that well at the moment, and Navarre, we know, 25 in a row. They're going okay.
Yeah, pretty hard to go against the Grasshoppers in this one. Denali is struggling a little bit. Navarre's absolutely flying. I think it's going to be them in a canter.
Mentioned before that Ash Driscoll's just about set to take one by the scruff of the neck and really kick a bag. I reckon this could be it.
This could be it. Denali's defence has probably struggled a little bit in past weeks, and he could rip them to shreds this week.
Could indeed get around Big Ash because he could kick some goals this weekend. Malden v Harcourt at the Bill Woodfull Reserve. Another sneaky good game this one will be as well. Don't you worry about that. We know how well Harcourt are going this year. They are absolutely flying. Berger's got them going in a completely different direction to where they were last year. But Malden at home, going okay, 2-1. Sean Birchall's playing some good footy. Hayden Kelly's flying high. They've got some really good players all across the field to Malden, and they're going to give Harcourt a shake here.
Yeah, this is a game probably pre-season that we would have gone, oh. But these two teams are probably flying under the radar a bit. No one expected them to be travelling this well. I'm going to go Harcourt because they are flying.
Yeah, I'm going Harcourt as well for that same reason. You can't tip against them at the moment. Just they're getting goals from everywhere. They're getting midfield goals. You got little wee man Jeff McMurtry kicking 8 on the weekend as well. Chris Stone's there. Joel Smith's flying above everybody's head. Sean Smith's kicking goals. It's hard to tip against them at the moment.
It certainly is. You throw guys like Paul Chaplin and the Gale brothers into that, and that makes Harcourt a pretty scary proposition.
It does indeed. And you almost start to think when you look at the way they're going, you almost start to think that not just finals, but maybe 2 cracks at it.
We'll have to wait and see.
It's going to be very interesting going along. Harcourt should win this game. Interesting looking game at Jubilee Oval this week. Maryborough Rovers taking on Trentham. The Rovers riding it up to their necks in the derby on Sunday, but just got rolled over in the last quarter, where Trentham flying along at the moment under the lights. They have to readjust themselves to daylight this week, but very, very interesting game, and one that could quite easily go either way.
I actually went along and saw the end of Royal Park and Rovers on the weekend, and I'm going to go the Magpies. They've got some good firepower up forward. Dion Hedger kicking goals. Brendan Hedger's a good target for them. Adam McLean, and then you throw guys like Grant Ryan, David Popovic into the mix, and I reckon they could knock the Saints off.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on this one as well. Trentham have been fantastic in the last couple of weeks, but they're just going. Maryborough Rovers haven't got the wins and losses on their board. They got dusted by Navarre, but everyone's going to do that, let's be honest. And Royal Park, it's no disgrace getting beaten by Royal Park this year, so I reckon they'll be all right, and I reckon the Rovers will get the job done here.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have expected Rovers to push Bushy quite as hard as they did, but maybe they've shown what they're capable of, and we'll wait and see how they go against the Saints.
Last game for the weekend, Natty Bialaba taking on Talbot up at Natty Yallock, and I hear there's a few Talbot blokes that got you in their crosshairs as well. Even though you're not playing anymore, you might cop a couple of swipes off the field.
From the coach?
Well, there's a couple, I won't mention Matt Smith's name, but there's a couple of blokes down at Talbot that may be a little bit unhappy with the way that we've been mentioning that they've been falling out of games in the last quarter, and the fact that it looks from on paper that they're getting run over and they don't have the fitness. What we've been told is there's been nothing wrong with their fitness. They're just lacking a little bit of application at times, and maybe the ball's not bouncing their way. They can need to bounce every way possible this week because they're coming up against the Natty side that can't kick straight, but apart from that are in pretty good touch.
Yeah, if the Swans had a kick straight on the weekend, we might have seen them knock off Navarre, which would have been a big surprise. But yeah, I can't see the Hawks getting them over the line here.
Having said that, it's always a close game between these two teams. I remember a couple of years ago, Talbot kicked 5 goals in the first quarter, didn't kick a goal for the rest of the game, and still won. So we know that this is going to be a pretty tough slog, but you just feel that Natty are going that little bit better at the moment and should be able to get I reckon, probably a 6 to 7 goal win.
Yeah, that was another Mother's Day game, actually, that one, in wet conditions. If the rain did come down this weekend, it might throw things back in Talbot's favour.
And it's supposed to be just really ridiculous type weather from Tuesday onwards all week, so it's not going to be great. So that could swing in Talbot's favour.
And we know Natty's ground can get chopped up pretty quickly, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes.
But we're both sticking with Natty here.
The Swans for me, of course.
We are indeed, and I'll go that way as well. Thanks for joining us once again, folks, this week for the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Footy Show. We thank the great folk at Bendigo Bank Maryborough for all of their support, not just through the Footy Show, but throughout the whole Maryborough Castlemaine District Football and Netball League. A couple of weeks to go until Interleague. We've got one more round to go before we start turning our focus towards that. Sammy, thanks for joining us once again, mate.
Always a pleasure to be here, mate.
Always a pleasure to have you here as well, and a pleasure to have you with us as well on the Bendigo Bank MCDFNL Footy Show. We'll see you next week.